Her faith allowed her to accomplish the seemingly impossible, leaving her son Toby behind in hopes of a brighter tomorrow. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. A kid called Daniel was born on the waterfront of Puerto Ogarrios in remote Jamaica at the beginning of 1997, precisely in the month of February. That boy was born and raised close to one of the world's most outstanding and representative moms, who gave him very strong encouragement and unwavering care. It was a woman named Inez. That child's father abandoned him when he was only an embryo, so he was born and reared without any parental contact. In that lovely and strange port, the woman didn't have any family. They had to head out, not knowing where they would end up, given the situation. The mother went to that location to get assistance for herself and her kid, and they remained in one of the woman's brother's homes. He treated her with great kindness, understanding that she had experienced a very trying period. She carried deep scars on her spirit from what had to transpire at that harbor. For the only reason that she had someone to fight for, she continued to fight after meeting this woman recently. The man married her after a few years. Even though Inez knew it was time to go, she couldn't think of anything better to give Daniel, so she took him for a stroll in the park they went to every morning, just as the sun was beginning to rise. She informed him at that park that he would travel to Europe, a very far-off place. Daniel was not really clear about what was going on. He didn't see any issues. In fact, he was looking forward to getting to know yet another nation and continent. With laughter, tears, and love in every moment, they played for the entire afternoon. That day, she had a message for her little son, Daniel, that she believed would shatter his heart as it had already crushed hers. The following day, she intended to go. They saw a tiny puppy that was famished and whimpering as they were strolling, and she was trying to figure out how to notify the little one. They saw as onlookers assaulted him and hurled trash at him. Using what little she had, Inez chose to purchase a succulent piece of steak. The unfortunate puppy was carried by her, and she and her son brought it to the park and took care of it in front of Daniel and the throng. The sad, tiny puppy was fed by them. Inez assured Daniel that even in his loneliness, she would always look out for him. She would eventually take care of him and shower him with affection. She would always be there where he was. Inez informed Daniel that she was going at that very moment in order to further their mutual benefit. "Dear boy, I have held you in my arms ever since I witnessed your little lungs expand and produce their first breath. It was only the two of us when I was permitted to leave that chilly hospital. I held you up to the sky and firmly declared, 'Father, I will name my little son Daniel as one of your most obedient children. Please look after him for me. Father, I want you to take the lead. Additionally, I want you to look after him while I'm not there or unable to see him.' I also told him, 'Daniel, you are fortunate to have a heavenly Father who is the best of all, even though you do not have a physical father. This time, Daniel, I would want to remind you that your uncle will help you in whatever way you need it, and that you will be taken care of by the great being from above in heaven. Recall that it will only last a little while, and I will see you again as soon as I can. It will probably happen in a year.' Daniel's desired dog was brought home with the mother and boy, but Uncle Raphael didn't want a pet since he was getting married shortly, and pets required a lot of care. Uncle Raphael gave in to Daniel's insistence, but only on the proviso that the four-legged acquaintance would go once winter arrived. Daniel nodded grudgingly. As night fell, Inez put tiny Daniel to sleep. Inez kissed him on the forehead as the cuckoo clock chimed and walked away. When Daniel awoke, his mother had already departed, despite his frantic and exhaustive searches for her. Yes, the dog Daniel dubbed Toby provided him with comfort. He had a four-legged friend. It was 2 months later. Aunt Isabella wed Uncle Raphael. She was a bit antsy and she felt extremely uneasy witnessing the chaos that little Toby had produced when she got to Uncle Raphael's house. Uncle Raphael gave in to her demands and established a boundary. Daniel sobbed uncontrollably because Toby was all he had left of his mother Inez. After entering his room, he peered out the window. It was indeed there, perched on a stone. Raphael murmured to tiny Toby, and the dog became thrilled and sprang out the window. Unfortunately, the window was too high for him to climb back in, and Toby was only 5 months old, a puppy of a Chinese breed that was quite similar to Zetu, a little dog. Daniel went to the park every day, as he had promised, to wait for the sun to set in order to remember his mother. Yes, tiny Toby, the one memory he had, was always with him. He left his obedient little pal at the door and went into Uncle Raphael's home that evening when they arrived. With much contempt, Aunt Isabella said, "You can't come at such late hours when your uncle is working. Here, I'm the one in command." Daniel bolted to his room after receiving a severe reprimand from her. "I promised my mom that I would go every day, every time the sun goes down, and I will not break my promise," he sobbed to himself. Later, he woke up when everyone else was asleep because he could not sleep due to the extreme cold. He went very gently to the door to check on his devoted pal. He was trembling from the cold. "Please don't make noise," muttered Daniel as he opened the door. "I can't leave you outside even if I don't want to upset Aunt Isabella and Uncle Raphael. My buddy, you're quite chilly. I could get you in with my parents." Daniel saw that tiny Toby would always make painful movements when he moved while he was lying on his bed, since Daniel could hardly fit in it. That bed wasn't big enough for anyone else. His helpful mother's most treasured memory was of Toby. Then Daniel wrapped Toby in his arms and walked carefully to the floor, where he passed out that evening. He hoped nobody would notice Toby's presence the following day. He finished his tasks fast so he could meet Toby, leaving half of his meal for the dog. In that small chamber, he cautiously and silently waited for him. Aunt Isabella had little Daniel perform a lot of duties that she herself did not want to do every time Uncle Raphael departed. Uncle Raphael never took Daniel's explanation seriously and made Daniel appear dishonest since he thought Isabella was cute. After 4 months, Daniel was still in mourning over his mother's passing. She'd said she would be back in a year. Daniel's body ached from the chilly floor, but he was too poor to sleep in that tiny bed since Toby the dog was the finest gift his mother had given him. Toby barked as a cat went by the little window adjacent to Daniel's room one day. Daniel was no longer able to hide or mute him. After sharing everything with that puppy and through some difficult nights, Isabella hurried into Daniel's room and discovered what she had always suspected: a dog. She cried out and wanted to harm Daniel once again. But tiny Toby, who had been the only one to support him during that entire time, emerged to stand up for Daniel, biting Isabella's legs and arms in the process. She let out a cry and bolted. After visiting the hospital, Daniel and young Toby contacted Uncle Raphael. When they informed him what had transpired, he and his wife both agreed. Still, he was unconcerned about his little nephew, even if his wife never sought out Daniel. However, Inez, who had seen several tragedies on that ancient continent, was able to find a kind family that helped her out by hiring her to watch a little girl named Mattel. Mattel's father, who worked hard in the business his family left behind, and her grandmother took care of her when her mother passed away when she was a little child. Mattel was ecstatic to have her grandma as a caregiver, and she grew to love her nanny, Inez. After Inez told Mattel about Daniel, Mattel told her father, Juan Carlos, that evening. Because of his demanding job, he had not met the person who brought his daughter such joy, but he was very eager to do so. He made the decision to stay at home one weekend in order to meet Inez, and when he met her, he instantly fell in love since she much reminded him of his late wife. He came to the realization as the days went by that he could not stop thinking about the kind woman who looked after his daughter. He made the decision to get her a ring from the jewelry store. He asked Inez for her hand in marriage over a lavish feast he arranged at one of the best restaurants in the city. She had fallen in love with Juan Carlos, but her son was at a distant place in her heart. Juan Carlos assured her that they would go with young Daniel along. The bad news struck them when they got to Uncle Raphael's house. Daniel and Toby had moved out a few days earlier. Inez was distraught about Daniel's death and frantically raced around, shouting and sobbing. Juan Carlos had to comfort her. Tears were streaming down her face as she noticed a bright light coming from above. Yes, the sun was lowering in the western sky. She suddenly recalled Daniel's assurance that he would always wait for her at that park. Running to that park beside that modest house, she noticed a dog on a sidewalk and a toddler beneath a sidewalk in the distance. With all her strength, she yelled, "Daniel!" Daniel was the one who was overjoyed to see his mother. Knowing what was going on, little Toby was bouncing with joy. Once more, the mother and the kid were together as they had been from the start. They journeyed to far-off Europe, arriving in Madrid, Spain, where they pleasantly settled into a new family: Matel, Inez, Danielle, Juan Carlos, and of course the wonderful Toby, who was cherished by the family they established. Daniel never had to sleep beneath a bed again since their big, roomy bed was just next to his. Inez recalled what she had spoken when standing on the top floor of that stunning home after the joy that had filled her heart. Yes, she did recall who had looked after Daniel and her. "I appreciate you seeing. Would you kindly like and post the video on social media? We promise to get back to you as soon as we can." Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.